That's not good. Yeah, let's start. Okay, so we've just gone through July exam, and I think it's still hot in many discussion groups, where they tend to post about the topics that we had and how they delivered the answer. The thing is, as usual, after each exam series, we try to convey our analysis of the most recent exam. And this time, based on a poll we posted on every discussion group, we decided to select L4M8 as the module that we want to review the recent exam. And I think that this exam, the recent exam, the one in July for L4M8 is pretty basic. And I think that the student, the exam takers tend to have pretty high score. All of the questions in L4M8 tend to be, this time, tend to be quite basic. And actually, all of them are very well explained in the study guide. So I think that if you read the study guide carefully, then the chance that you pass July exam is pretty high. Okay, so let's see what kind of question we had in the recent exam. Of course, we have 4 questions. Okay, now nothing special here. First question on the procurement cycle, and it focuses on some 5 stages. My student cannot calculate, recall exactly what kind of stages were asked in the exam, but it's practically this kind of question is quite basic, and it just appear in every L4M8 exam for like for 4 series in a row from March until now. They always ask about the procurement cycle stages. So I think that it is very predictable and students are well prepared for that kind of question. The second question on chapter 2 is about contract management. Again, then my student cannot recall the details, but I assume that that is a question about the benefits and the methods for contract management. Also, this one is very well explained in the study guide with chapter 2 at stage number 11. Question number 3, the whole life cost. And normally this is the easiest question for the exam because they tend to ask again and again about the whole life cost. So nothing special here. For this kind of exam, specifically, they ask about the 5 elements of the whole life cost. So we can predict that student also perform pretty well on the answer. And the final question on ESG, or environment, social, and governance consideration. And for this one, it is particularly focusing on global sourcing, the ESG problems in global sourcing, and how we may handle that. Okay, so let's go into the detail. First, with the procurement cycle stages, normally there are 2 types of question. The first one asks you to calculate, describe some random 5. Actually, you may choose your own 5 stages. The second one is about kind of like they provide you with the exact stages and ask you to describe them. Either way, then SIP still prefers to ask about some bigger or more significant stages. Like they prefer to ask something like stage number 1 about defining needs, stage number 2 about market analysis, stage number 3, stage number 5, number 7, number 8, number 9, 11, and 12. Okay, so they tend to ask about those stages because these stages are kind of like quite important, and there are a lot of things to say about. With the procurement cycle stages, I often suggest my students to focus on 3 points, on 3 contents for each stage. First one is about the purpose of each stage. Here we can talk about like what does procurement need to achieve after finishing this stage. Like with stage number 2, we need to get the information about the market so that we can have the informed decision. Second point is what procurement does in this stage, at this specific stage. Like with stage number 5, we need to prepare some certain documents like the invitation tender, the specification, the contract bodies, KPI, and so on. So we need to specify what procurement does at that stage. And finally, you can, if you have time, you can explain about the benefits of when we do this stage correctly. So with this one, I may provide you with an example. Because I don't have the information on the exact question, so I just picked some stages on this slide. I picked 4 stages: stage number 7, 8, 9, and 11. Number 7 is send out the ITT, or RFQ, or issue the ITT. Stage 8 is to evaluate bids or tenders or quotation. Stage number 9 is contract award, and stage number 11 is contract performance management. So with stage 7, it is about sending out or issue ITT RFQ. At this stage, then our purpose here is to inform the supplier about the opportunity and the details of the opportunity. And another point is that we need to ensure the fairness and competition, so that we can get the value for money. The specific actions here would include, it is just about sending, it's just about informing. So it just includes sending the documents to supplier. And there are some notices like we need to send the same set of documents at the same time, and also send in a way that they may pay attention to. For different sector, then we may have different ways to send it, to send the ITT or RFQ. For public sector, you must send it through the portal. You must distribute the ITT through the portal or through the dedicated method. But in private sector, then there's no regulation. So we have the freedom to choose what kind of communication we need to engage with the supplier. However, then every supplier should be communicated in the same way with the same set of document. If one supplier receive the document by email, then other suppliers should be should receive the communication via email, and so on. With stage number 8, it is about bid evaluation. So at this stage, our purpose here is to find out the tender or bid that offers the best value for money. At this stage, we should have known the criteria for assessment. And here, then we just need to assess the bid according to our predefined criteria. The actions here would include something like, first, we need to open the bids, okay, and preferably we need to open them at the same time after the deadline. And we need to assess them strictly according to the criteria in the tender document. Depending on the defined method, then we can assess them based on the price only or based on the weighted score system. And after the assessment, we need to give them some score and sort the result based on the score. We will inform the highest score bidder first, and then go to the second and the third. If the first one reject the contract opportunity, then we may move on with second and the third, and so on. And after one supplier is confirmed, is confirmed to engage in the negotiation, then we can inform the other failed bidder about this opportunity and explain to them kind of like what they have done, kind of like why they have failed at this opportunity. Of course, we need to preserve the trade secret of other suppliers as well, even in engagement and communication with the suppliers. Stage number 9 is about contract award. It is about contract award. And at this stage, then we need to prepare and inform the supplier, the prospective supplier, get ready for the contract. They need to be very well aware about the contract terms, and they have the opportunity to negotiate the contract here. And we may have, or we may write further questions, or we may discuss about further discount or any favorable treatment that we may want to achieve. Here, then we need to follow the due diligence, like informing the highest score bidder first, and then move on with the second and the third, and so on. And we also need to engage in the negotiation. We need to prepare for the negotiation well, and make sure that the supplier is aware of the contract terms, so that we don't have the conflict during contract performance. Stage number 11 is about contract performance management. This stage is quite important, and this one also linked to the question number 2 about the methods of contract management. Here, then the purpose is to ensure the contract performance, ensure that the supplier delivers what we expect them. To do this, then we may use some methods like KPI, SLA, periodic review, or some advanced method like continuous improvement. And if the supplier is not performing, we may apply some remedies as defined in the contract, like using service credit or liquidated damages. The second question is about contract management. And this question is actually it is actually quite popular in previous exam. I mean, in 2018 syllabus, but for 2023 syllabus, then the first time we have this kind of question. And with this kind of question, then I think that they tend to ask about two things. First, about the benefits, and second, about the methods. To construct a good answer over this, then you need to define three things. You need to write three things. First, the position of contract management. Second, the benefits of correctly manage the contract performance. And third, about the methods that you may apply to manage the contract. For the first thing, then you know that contract management should be placed after the contract award and within the procurement cycle. It is stage number 11. Stage number 11. And the benefits of contract management may include something like it may ensure the value for money. It may leave room for continuous improvement. It may improve the supplier relationship, or it may improve our service and um, also provide the basics for further development and improvement. With the methods, I believe that you can read that very clearly from study guide. With the new study guide, they just labeled with three methods, and other advanced method like continuous improvement or training and training time. They put it under the supplier relationship management. In the study guide, currently they only introduce four methods. The last one is managing variations. However, I think it is kind of like a thing to kind of like manage the change during the contract, not exactly a contract management method. So I just focus on three major methods. First, KPI, second, MBO, and third, periodic review. With KPIs, then DDM method is a very popular method where we focus on some particular area of performance like the delivery or service, and we include the measurement in the contract under a schedule known as the KPI, and we collect the data from supply performance, and we track the performance over time to see whether they are improving or not. With this method, then the first step is to define what to measure and how to collect the data, and and how to measure as well. So we need to discuss with the supplier about what to perform, what to focus on, and how we may track their performance. KPI may be used to monitor the performance like on regular basis, and it is very basic one, so that it can become like the base for further improvement and for review as well. One of the important point of KPI is to use the SMART criteria. This is about setting target for the supplier so that they have the motivation to work on that. The second method is measurement by objectives, or MBO. MBO and SOA is actually the same thing. We set some certain target for supplier, and when they achieve that, we may provide some incentive or reward. And when they don't, then we may ask them to pay for some remedies like liquidated damages or service credit, or even termination if their performance is too terrible. So MBO is another kind of contract management with a particular focus on the achievement of some target. Here again, before we engage in the contract, then the supplier should be aware and agree to the objectives, and we also need to provide clear definition and the scope for this management. Also, we need to be clear on remedies and reward. They should be designed in a way that actually incentivize the supplier. The third method is contract review. Here, then have like after each period, then we may set up some regular meeting with the supplier and address. Actually, first we still need to collect the data on the performance, and then at each meeting, we may address the current performance. We may have like give some compliments on their good performance and ask them about the reasons for poor performance. From that point, then both sides can decide how we can improve. Like we may set up a deadline or provide some further training for them to improve. And by this way, then the relationship with supplier may increase quite significantly because the buyer may engage in a way that is very constructive for both parties. That is question number 2. It is quite basic and very well explained in study guide. Question number 3 about the whole life cycle costing, and this basic question in recent exam it asks about the 5 elements in the whole life cost. In whole life cost. So you may list the elements like this one, like some big area of the elements, like the acquisition, total cost of acquisition, operation, maintenance, and applied cost. And this kind of question is quite basic, and you may do separate the things like this and explain it further. Like with the total cost acquisition, you may list some related costs like the purchase price, the cost of finance, insurance, delivery, installation. With operation, then it may include some consumable, some the energy or the utilities for the assets, and the wages for operator. For maintenance, then it may include something like preventive maintenance or corrective maintenance, and the cost for downtime. And end-of-life costs include the decommissioning or disposal costs, and perhaps resale price if the asset still has some value. This kind of question is very basic, and normally we have a scenario where you need to analyze the whole like cost of some particular assets, like a ferry or a ship or a drill, okay, or a piece of machinery or some vehicle. So this kind of thing is quite basic, and I think that most students may deliver the correct answer. The final question, I think this is the most difficult one in the L4M8 this time. It is a question about ESG in global sourcing. Actually, we have a scenario. We have a scenario where the company in question, they previously purchased from their local market from a local supplier, but now they are considering to switch to global sourcing, which means that they need to purchase from an overseas supplier. So there are some concerns and some problems with this approach. some concern may arise like the overseas or the supplier's country may not have the same standard of ESG, and if the buyer still want to contract them and left the thing unmanaged, then that could be quite bad for reputation, especially if the news about the practice in the um, supply country reach the news, reach the media, and the media may inflate that, and the buyer may suffer some kind of like reputational loss. Another thing is that the supplier may not be aware of the ESG practice, and they may not put the effort in this particular area, so that they are not paying sufficient attention to this one, to this area, and the task of the buyer is to raise the awareness of this. So I think that with those problems that we may describe some solution. Of course, depending on the scenario, I think that I still need to have the information on space question to deliver the suggestion more correctly. However, based on the information I have, then I think that I may suggest some solutions. Like first, we need to communicate clearly about the buyer's expectation and the standards regarding ESG matters. The standard here should be well defined at stage number one at defining needs. It needs to be documented in a language that the supplier understand better, and it should be communicated and emphasized during the discussion with the supplier. Furthermore, to make the ESG standard really important, then we may need to incorporate them into the contract, and also provide some kind of like incentive and disincentive for certain behavior. Like if they violate some standards, like if they violate the labor standard, then they may risk being terminated from the contract. Okay, so that kind of disincentive or remedy may be quite powerful to increase and to enforce the ESG standard at supplier premise. And finally, this one relates to the first point. We have the we want to embed the standard. However, then you know that there's some kind of like discrepancy of standard of practice across the country in the world. So if we rise the standard very suddenly, then it's very difficult for supplier to follow. So we may need to study their local standard, local practice, and it is better to apply the international standards about ESG, like ILO core conventions on labor or UN human rights conventions, which are very well known across the world. And I think that vast majority of suppliers would be aware of that, So by this way, then we may rise the standard step by step. Okay, instead of taking the standard from the buyer's country to apply in this situation, which may cause kind of like a shock. Very high, the application of very high standard at first could be a shock, and may drive the supplier away from signing contract. Okay, so that is some of my suggestion about the risk exam. Actually, then this one is not particularly long. So just for questions, I believe that I just deliver my own idea here. Okay, so before we end, then do you have any question for me? Of course, you will have the access to the slide and the recording. Uh, However, I want to hear more from you, like what kind of concern you may have, or how we may have to further. You may raise your hand or put your concern into the chat box. Okay, I received a question from Angels. Will scenario best? Hi, Angels. Then actually most of question in our met would be scenario based. So you need to read the scenario carefully and draft your answer link to scenario. It's very hard to keep an example here. Actually, then we have the a class on FMS practice, and if you have interest, you may join it. I will send the link to the class later. It will start from the beginning of August. With a question from 3T9, you asked about the examples. So yeah, the cost asset, right? Normally, then they do provide a table for the cost assets. They just give you some kind of like qualitative description. Only words, no number. So you just need to list all the costs and their elements, their sub-elements. That's all. Okay, Sandesha. Okay, I can turn back to the whole like cost element. Okay, so what is your concern? Okay, so Sandesha, you would like to know on end of life cost. It is very simple. If the assets need to be disposed, then we need to decommission them or dispose them, right? They have no further use and they need to be written off from the accounting, from the account. If they still have some value, we can sell them on open market and we may regain the resale value from that kind of transaction. Okay, so depending on the condition, then we may have the different consideration and different type costs. Jellica with how like cost, then link them to the question procurement, construction, commission, maintenance, commission. Actually, then okay, you list three costs of acquisition, and construction and commission can be the same thing. So you need to include other area like operation or something like that. Okay, diversify your answer. Uh, with maintenance, then downtime could be a separate area, could be a separate element. So it could be the fifth one. Okay. All right. I think that if you don't have any further question, then please support us by using our services like the practice questions. And from August, we have a small practice class on L4M8 where we focus majorly on the practice. I will ask the students to write the answer and I will comment on them individually. By the way, I believe that it will hone your writing skill and improve your answer significantly. I have conducted this class for some students and the result is quite impressive. It improves the student confidence and also their writing skill. Okay, so if you have interest, then please WhatsApp us or email us and we will send you the detail. Next week, we will provide further another session on L4M1 on the review of L4M1 exam in July. Okay, so see you next week and other question. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ma. Okay, it was about the sourcing of cocoa powder. Question number 4. Yeah, if the question is about the yeah, okay. Okay, so if the question is about the consideration when we select the supplier using ESG elements, then you're correct. We have concern about the supplier performance, so we need to define the expression clearly. Like they need to focus on E, H, and G. So with the E, environment, then we may focus on the cultivation of the cocoa tree. Okay, like not just about replacing the trees, but also about the use of pesticide or chemical fertilizer, something like that, and which should reduce the impact on the environment, on social, then it may focus on the employment of local farmers and increase the benefits for the local community, like they should reinvest in local community, like donate in building a new school for the children. And for G, governance. G, governance, then we may consider about improve their governance, improve their policy, reduce the corruption, help them to fight the corruption in their business. Okay, so there are some of my consideration as well. So E, H, and G, we need to consider about 3 of them. Sorry, with governance here, we need to consider about it. So we need to ask them to provide the evidence of the policy on governance and so on, so that we are sure that we can be confirmed that they have good governance. Okay, thank you very much. And I think that today we had a very productive session. I hope to see you again next week on L4M1. Okay, I hope that I also receive better information on the exam. Sometimes the students tend to have very, they cannot recall the exam questions correctly. So my information could be quite incomplete and incorrect. I hope that you may help me to correct that. All right, so that's all for today's session, and I hope to see you again next week.